Let me say something right out of the gate that might sound a little shocking, especially in church circles. God isn't fair, at least not by human standards. And before you hit pause or mentally draft an angry email, hang with me for a few minutes, because what I'm about to argue is not only biblically true, it's actually good news. Welcome back to It Makes Sense, the podcast where we explore how the Christian worldview makes the most sense of life, suffering, justice, and truth. Today we're talking about why God isn't fair and why you should be grateful for that. One of the most common accusations against God, especially in moments of pain or confusion, is this: God isn't fair. And honestly, by human definitions of fairness, that charge sticks. But fairness as we understand it is rooted in comparison. It sounds like they got more than I did. I worked harder. Why them and not me? That doesn't seem right. Fairness assumes equal outcomes, equal timing, and equal circumstances. But life doesn't work that way. And God never promised to operate that way. Take Jesus' parable of the workers in the vineyard. Some workers labor all day under the heat. Others show up at the last hour. And at the end of the day, they all get paid the same. That's not fair. But Jesus isn't teaching economics. He's exposing the human heart. No one was cheated. Everyone received what was promised. The offense came from comparison. The landowner asks a haunting question: are you upset because I am generous? See, that's the tension right there. We want fairness. God deals in generosity. Or consider Jacob and Esau. Before either of them were born, before they'd done anything good or bad, God chose Jacob. That's not fair. Esau didn't fail a test. Jacob didn't earn a prize. God made a sovereign choice that served a bigger redemptive plan. Human fairness asks, what did they deserve? Divine objectivity asks, what advances truth and redemption? Then there's the thief on the cross. One criminal mocks Jesus until his final breath. The other repents with moments to spare. And Jesus says, today you'll be with me in paradise. No lifetime of obedience, no restitution, no track record required. That's not fair. But salvation has never been about fairness, because if God were fair, no one would be saved. Let me say that again. Because if God were fair, no one would be saved. Grace, by definition, cannot be earned. And then there's Job. Job loses his children, his wealth. He even loses his health. Not because he sinned, but because he was righteous. Yes, because he was righteous. That's not fair. And when Job demands an explanation, God doesn't give one. Instead, he asks, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? God doesn't justify himself to Job. He reveals himself. Because objectivity doesn't always come with explanation, but it always comes with authority. Even Jonah struggled with this. God shows mercy to Nineveh, a city that absolutely deserved judgment. And Jonah is furious. Why? Because he wanted fairness. Well, God chose mercy. And here's the irony we often miss. Every time we thank God for forgiveness, every time we celebrate grace, we are celebrating the fact that God is not fair. Fairness would give us judgment. Grace gives us mercy. Justice satisfied at the cross gives us salvation. The cross itself is proof that God isn't fair. Jesus received what we deserved so we could receive what we never earned. If God were fair, he would be predictable. He would be manageable. He wouldn't be God. Instead, he is objective. Perfectly just, perfectly merciful, perfectly wise. And that is far better than fair. So the next time you're tempted to say, God, this isn't fair, maybe the better question is, do I trust that you see what I cannot? Because fairness looks good on paper, but objectivity anchored in truth, justice, and redemption is what actually saves. If this episode helped you think differently about God, justice, or grace, do me a favor. Like it, share it, leave a comment, or subscribe wherever you're listening. It really does help others find the show. And if you want to keep up with my longer form writing, you can find my blog on Substack. Just search dannytippett.substack.com and subscribe there. Tippett is spelled Tippit, same backwards as forwards. Yes, that is a palindrome. Thanks for listening, and God bless.